Okay, so I wanted to film one more review for you guys so you're prepared for your 9 weeks test tomorrow. So in first period yesterday, we didn't get to cover as many as we did in the other classes, so I at least got through this in first period. So I'm going to go ahead and start with number 3 and then finish out the review in this video. So what are the x and y intercepts of f of x equals 2/3 x minus 6? Okay, so let's look at that one. We have to have an x and a y intercept. When you see f of x, you should always think y equals. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in my calculator for y equals. So I've already done that. Remember, when you do a fraction, you put it in parentheses, 2 divided by 3, parentheses, x minus 6. All right? And I'm going to graph that. So I could do this in one of two ways. I could see where it crosses the x and y axis. It crosses the y at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Negative 6. Okay. And it crosses the x at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. I also could look at my table if it was very unclear on my on my graph where that crosses. So I could go to second table, and anywhere where my x is 0, that's a y-intercept, and where my y is 0, that's an x-intercept. So you can see the x is negative 6, the y-intercept is negative 6, and the x-intercept is 9. Okay? Number 4. What is the solution to this equation? Well, let's go ahead and just go through our steps. We're just solving for x. When we see parentheses, we always want to distribute first. Do the parentheses first. Negative 1 times x, negative 1x. Negative 1 times 2, negative 2. So you have a 4 minus 1x minus 2. 3 times x, 3x. 3 times negative 5, negative 15. Plus 10. Okay, so now I want to get all my x's to this side and all my numbers to this side. So I need to start by combining some like terms. 4 and a negative 2, that's going to give me a 2 minus 1x. And then a negative 15 and a positive 10. Well, that's going to give me a negative 5. So we have 3x minus 5 on that side. So let's move all our x's over here. We're going to subtract 3x. So I get 2 minus 4x equals negative 5. So I want to move this number to the number side. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. And I get negative 4x equals negative 7. And my last step is to divide that negative 4 off. And I get x equals 7 over 4. Well, on my calculator, when I do 7 divided by 4, I get 1.75. So we have to have it in a decimal form at least for the bubble end sheets. It's positive 1.75, and I will just fill those bubbles in just like so. Okay? That's number 4. Number 5, write the equation of a line parallel. This is very key. Parallel means same slope. Parallel lines have the same slope. To 2x plus 5y equals 10, which contains 0.01. So 2x plus 5y equals 10. Let's get that into y equals. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is move this 2x over. So I end up with 5y equals 10 minus 2x. Then I need to just divide by 5. And I get y equals 2 minus 2/5 x. So here my m is this, negative 2/5, and my b is 2. My b doesn't really matter right now because I need to have the same slope in my new line. So I know my answer is going to have y equals negative 2/5 x, because it's going to have the same slope, because it's a parallel line. But it needs to pass through this point. So I could use my point slope formula, but I don't have to, because remember when your x is 0, then your y is your b. So now I know what my b is. 1. So this is my new equation. Y equals mx plus b. This line is parallel to this, and it passes through that point. Okay, let's talk about perpendicular. Remember, perpendicular lines have a negative reciprocal. Remember what that means? It's you take the slope, you flip the fraction, and you change the sign. So this is, we need to put this in y equals. We're going to move that over. So you get 5y equals 10 minus 2x. Then we're going to divide by 5. And you see that's the same as we just had. Y equals 2 minus 2/5 x. So my original slope is a negative 2 over 5x, which means my perpendicular slope is, flip the fraction, and if it was negative, it's now positive. If it was positive, it's now negative. So it's 5 over 2 positive, because it was negative. And then, so I know my answer is going to have a 5 over 2 slope. We just need to figure out what is the b by using this point. Well, there's two ways you can do this. You can use the point slope formula, which is y minus y1 equals m over x minus x1, and that will be given to you. And this would be your x1 and your y1. Or you could plug this into your calculator. Or, I'm sorry, you could plug each of these into the calculator and see which of these has, which of these goes through negative 2, negative 8. But before you do that, you can narrow this down. You know it's going to have a 5 over 2 slope. So it's either going to be C or D. So it's either going to be this one or this one. Now don't just assume that since this is minus 8, and that y value is minus 8, that it's going to be C. Because that doesn't mean that unless this unless this x was a 0. It's not. So I'm going to do point slope, just so you see that again. Y minus y1. Y1 is negative 8. So that's actually plus a positive. Equals slope, 5 over 2. That's my slope. X minus x1. Negative 2, so that's both positives. So now I'm going to distribute y plus 8 equals 5 over 2x, and then 5 over 2 times 2. 5 divided by 2, let's put that in parentheses. That is 5. So we have a positive times a positive, so it's going to be a positive. Alright, well, we're not done. We still have this plus 8 we have to move over to get the y by itself. I'm going to subtract 8. My bad. So now this becomes y equals 5 over 2x minus 3. D is your answer. Okay, on the back, we have 4 left. Domain and range. Remember Dixie and then Roy D. Dixie is your domain is your x values, range is your y values. So we go left to right, domain. I'm going to draw my crop box here. Y'all remember that? So we go -2 is less than x, less than or equal to, and then this is 1, 2, 3, 3. Your range is your y value, so it goes from bottom to top. -1 is less than or equal to y, which is less than 4. That's how we do this, if you remember. You go left to right, then bottom to top. Okay, so on this one, it says graph 2x is less than 8 minus 4y. So we need to put this in y equals first, so we can graph it. It has to be a y equals, or what we call slope-intercept form. The y has to be by itself, so that we can get a slope and a y-intercept. So let's go ahead and move this 8 to the other side by subtracting 8. So we have 2x minus 8 is less than -4y. To get the y by itself, I'm going to divide by -4. Remember, that flips your sign. And this becomes -1 over 2x plus 2 is greater than y. So, because the y is on this side, can we rewrite this and flip the whole thing so that the y is on the correct side? We sure can. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to flip the whole thing. It means I have to flip my sign. Okay. So now my equation is good. We have an m, which is -1 over 2, and a b, which is a +2. Now I can graph this. 1, 2, put a dot, and my slope tells me my directions. Down 1 and over 2. Okay, and it is less than, so it's a dashed line. And it's less than, so it is shading below because it's an inequality. Okay, here, look at this line and tell me where it crosses the x-axis. Crosses the x-axis right here at -2, 0, and it crosses the y-axis at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the x is 0. Okay, that one was pretty easy. And then rate of change, from here to here to here. Your rate of change is your slope. It's going down 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4 over 4. So that's the same rate of change if you reduce that. That's a -1 over 2. So it's going down down to 1, 2 over 4, which reduces to negative 1 over 2. And that's it. Tomorrow is the 9 weeks test. Please do your best. And there's no bonus points for getting a review signed. Sorry, not on the 9 weeks test. Have a good night.